please read the accept? Okay, started.
Hi everyone, James speaking. I'm a cloud solution architect, MVP. I am today with Leonid, which is working at Microsoft, and we want today to present to you a way to create application gateway with Terraform. So the presentation will be in 4 steps. The first point is going to be to introduce the concept and what we want to do. Then I will present you an high-level view of what we are going to do, and then I will leave the hand to Leonid to present you the demo. So we will do it with Terraform, and to conclude, we will fill in some tips about how we did that. So as an introduction, the objective here is to do with Terraform the creation and the management of an application gateway which will logs its diagnostic settings in an existing log analytic workspace. This is really convenient actually for debug purposes, etc. And the second point is we will link our application gateway to a key vault that will be the safeguard of our TLS certificate. Actually, this video is based on a Medium article. You can find the link at the bottom of the slide. So concerning the high-level view, here in this architecture samples, we are using at the middle, let's say a core component, a core infrastructure component, which is the application gateway. And in our context, this application gateway publish websites of different application teams, but it's a core component infrastructure. And as a core component infrastructure, this application gateway stores and stores the certificates of all our application websites. So it's like in this context, if you have a security team who is accountable of renewing the certificate, etc. And joining application gateway with the key vault is really efficient because if you want to renew a certificate, you will just have to renew the certificate in the key vault. And because the application gateway point to the key vault for the certificate, you will get automatically the new certificate. So it's a really cool feature, which is actually only available with application gateway v2. But we will show you how to create that with Terraform. The only prerequisite is that we need to create a managed user identity that will have the privilege to read the key vault. And the second one, as I told previously, we will configure the application gateway to send its logs to a log analytic workspace. So voila for the introduction. I will leave the end to Len and go to the next slide. Hello, Leo. Leonid, it's your.
Thank you so much, everyone. And as James mentioned, we're just going to go through the code. So Mike Sears and I, we prepped it up in such a way where what James just referenced in his PowerPoint, this is his block, and that's exactly where he's going into the details of what we're going to be deploying. You will see in his block the piece of codes which is named accordingly right here. The app gateway log, Terraform, all of this chunk of code, or you can look at the GitHub where it is structured like that in one single main TF file. So for the demo, we matching up the structure exactly as in James' block, and as James has mentioned just now that we need to have the resource group created prior. That's why we're going to be deploying to, because we are going with the idea that we are integrating application gateway with already existing resources, such as resource group and also VNet. So basically, in order for this demo to work, you would need to create the resource group, name it whatever you want to name it, and then the VNet with one single subnet, as it says right here. Now I'm gonna go over to the code itself. Just bear with me for 1 second. And so what Mike and I, we learned from James a while back, and that's a really cool stuff, is for the deployment itself, we have the secret file, and which is again reflected pretty much in the README file. You look into this right now, and inside of the secret file, you really just need to specify a tenant ID, subscription, and client ID, and a secret. Everything else is like not really necessary here. Key is just to authenticate to the storage account. That's where the state file is going to be stored. And because we're deploying from my laptop, I need to have the keys. Otherwise, if it would be in the cloud, we could do the same approach as James just mentioned with MSI, and just assign this MSI to the storage account. And in that case, I don't need to do authentication with the key. With that being said, we very quickly gonna hop on the provider, and just again, that's exactly what's in the James block. Then just to give you a quick overview, the application gateway, it's coming right here. As a matter of fact, maybe I should mention, right, James, is just where do we have the variables itself, and those going to be, yeah, right here. We're looking at them right there. And this is where we specifying the resource group name, right? And also the VNet name with a subnet. So those are pre-existing line 10, 19, and 20. With that being said, we can hop on the README file, and the way it is going, it should just, because we already deployed it basically, just to save the time. But what's your experience going to look like? I'm going to delete the Terraform file, and this is where all of the Terraform components are stored when you do the Terraform init. So let me clean that up. I'm also going to delete the plan. And let me just do it like this. And now we're ready, presumably that this is a fresh installation. So the first thing what we do is we need to go to the Terraform init and make sure all of the providers plugin are stored locally for the execution to take place. So we're just going to click on paste. And as you can see here, right, we are specifying the JSON file. So this is how we can authenticate to my subscription where we deploy the resources. The plugins has been downloaded right now. So we're good here. The next step would be, right now we are, again, since we mentioned that the state file is going to be stored in the blob storage, so we're going to go to the Terraform Workspace, but I already done that before. I run the command line 41. So what we're going to do, we just need to hop on and make sure we are in that same workspace like dev in our scenario. Let me just make sure that it is the case. And this is good. And by the way, while we're on this step, right, James, let's mention to our audience that the good thing about the workspace is if you look into the provider, right now we have the backend kind of hard coded. Well, I mean, it's not really kind, it is hard coded. And James has a good examples where he would parameterize line 4 to 7, and you can provide it during the init, plan and apply, of course, right? But in that specific case, because we are using let me show you again, the workspaces, it's not really necessary because even so it's the same storage account, the same container, but because of the workspace, we can drop to the same container, different environment, dev, seed, UAT, prod. Is that correct, James?
Yes, yes.
Thank
That's
you.
pretty interesting to show to that you show that feature.
Thank you. Alrighty, so now what we can do is, and again, the environment has been already deployed just to expedite your waiting time. So we're gonna go to the plan, and I'm gonna output the plan right into the file. And let's just do this here. Really, nothing's going to happen because again the infrastructure has been deployed, but just for the fun of the demo. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if we would go ahead and only run this chunk of code, what it would do, it would just show to you that it's nothing needs to be done because it's been already deployed. But in this case, it's going to that file, and that's why in the output you don't really see much, right? But it's everything's in that file. And now we can do the Terraform apply, which is gonna rerun the code and say it's 0 resources has been deployed because we already have it in the resource group. And let's give it some time. And while this is running, also write another good stuff. Also, again, thanks, James, for your tips. Line 50, if you feel like, hey, now I need to go ahead and destroy it, you can go ahead and destroy. And that's going to destroy only the application gateway components. And what's cool, let's say your networking team has already provisioned the network and they're responsible for NSG, VNet, user-defined routes, all of this good stuff. So you're not even going to touch it. You as an application owner, you're only responsible for application gateway. So if we would run the command 50, it would just only destroy the application gateway components. So as you can see, NASA has been provisioned here. And just to validate it very quickly, we're going to hop on back to the resource group. So this is all of the components. And the only modification what James, Mike, and I we run into very quickly also maybe just to mention here was let me just go to the key vault. And during the key vault creation, we faced that we need to pause. So basically it's not even it's kind of a hiccup where if you run it first time, it's going to fail and it's going to say, oh, well, you don't have the key vault and the certificate, right? But then if you run it again, everything's just going to work fine with you. And James, I don't know, maybe you can talk about this more, but this is some kind of a glitch with it. I don't know, with Azure.
Yes, it's more related to Azure. Actually, a good practice with Terraform is to use implicit dependency. So implicit dependency tells to Terraform in which order he will have to create the resources. So in our context, we need to create first the key vault, the certificate, and then the application gateway. So natively, it should have worked by design because it is the correct order. But in our context, the problem we faced is that when we create a certificate on Azure Key Vault, on the Key Vault, it is not available. Is not available soon. So in our context, we had to add this time slip of few seconds, 1 minute, and this time slip make us the ability to run the script from zero to create all the resources in one shot. It is a tips. It is a tips that Leonid find and it's very, very good. Sometimes we need that.
Thank you. Thanks, James. Right. And then again, it's just pretty much how it does work here, just to show you guys in the code itself, right? So you do have this block of code, line 104. It depends on, exactly as James just mentioned, on the key vault certificate. That's the certificate itself, right? But then if you look into the full dependency, the best way to do it, I guess, I mean, at least the way we do it, find and pass. And we're just going to do time sleep. So that would be that resource. Oops, click too much. And right here, right? So in that file, which is app gateway, right? 06 app gateway, we have this depends on. That's again, that's what just James reiterated it, and it depends on this time to wait to sleep. So it's like 60 seconds. So that's pretty much just giving us 60 seconds to propagate
Yes.
in the portal. That's it. That's it.
Actually, if you try to do all what we do with PowerShell or AZCli anywhere, you will find the same issue. You will create the key vault, the certificate, and then you will have to wait before the certificate is readily available.
Right. Correct. And Mike, do you want to add something here too before we end the recording?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Alrighty. So I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, James.
Thank you.